Hey, I'm your host, Anthony Tank Mansfield, and with me today is,
Ian Schiefer.
and this is What You Into.
What you into? What you into?
All right, listener, welcome back. Ian, welcome back as well, man. This is the second time in the basement.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back. Feels comfy.
I don't have a name for the two-time club yet. If you're a guest on the show for the third time, you're in the Dale Earnhardt. If you're on the show as a guest for the fourth time, you're in the Ric Flair Club.
Ooh.
The Four Horsemen, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I don't have one for two yet. Listener, if you got a name for what happens when you're get to come back on the show for a second time, DM me, send it to the show, let me know.
Oh man, who are the two wrestlers that had the spikes on their shoulders with the painted faces?
The Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors.
Legion of Doom. That's right.
Get in the Legion of Doom Club.
There we go. Doom Club.
That or like a really solid sequel.
Yeah. Sequel Club.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Sequel Club. Maybe that could be a rotating version of sequels. We'll talk sequels here in a minute. Let's talk about you real quick. Let's talk about your two IGs where people can find you at Ian_Charles.71 and at Secret Base Cinema. Is your other one, which we're going to talk Secret Base here tonight in the opening. Listener, you're able to find me at neiltoknoone.com is the website, at neiltoknoone is the Instagram. If you live in the Cincinnati area, look for Rants and Rabbit Holes by High Grain Brewing. It's the hazy double IPA that we worked on together, and I was at the brewery this weekend, and they are sold out of it there in cans. Draft, they still got it. Cans, it is gone. So I got nervous. I forgot to stock up on it because I had other people that were like, hey, people that don't live in Cincinnati that I'm going to see are like, hey, can you grab a 6-pack for me? I'm sure. And then last night at like 1 a.m, I woke up and I'm like, or I was trying to fall asleep, and I'm like, wait a second. I don't have any of these beers right now. I have to make sure I can go buy them.
It's worth it to try on tap, though.
Yeah.
It's great on tap.
It
Amazing.
is really good on tap. And it's one of those beers weighing in at a hefty 9% that you're not going to be able to drink a lot of them, but you're going to have a fun time while you're drinking them.
Yeah, it's great afternoon beer right there.
Yeah, solid. If you want to get like a solid 1 or 2 in, and you're going to be feeling okay the rest of the year, you're going to go home happy. Or if you want to late night it and you want to like try to clear 6 of them, you can, but you're going to know.
Oof. Grown up drinking.
That is some grown up drinking. Oh shit, man. Well, look, let's. So you're back on the show. Let's talk about where we know you from, Secret Base Cinema.
Yeah.
How's the 2023 season going?
Very good. We're coming up next week, a week from today. We're going to have, that'll be Tuesday, the 21st, for listeners that get this at a different time. We'll have our first screening of Society, 1989, Brian Usna. Cool. Yeah, body horror film, very unique film. Very good stuff. Next month we have the first Japanese science fiction film to be filmed in color. Beautiful texture and a fun story called Warnings from Space. And then we have Django the following month as well in May.
Nice.
Yeah, spaghetti western.
Very
Sergio
cool.
Corbucci, bloody spaghetti western, good fun.
I like that you guys are getting a nice rotation here of stuff, and each month's a little something different. It's always very cool.
Oh yeah. We sweat it big time. We spend a lot of effort on each and every one of those films. It's definitely a reflection of both of us. We both bring different things to this table. And today we just started shoring up our plans for the summer.
Oh, cool.
Gonna have some big movies for the summer.
Nice. And you guys have like a new home that you're running out of right now, right? Don't
Yeah,
you?
Esquire Theater right now.
Very cool.
We're showing down there. Really great folks down there. Everything's running real smooth and good with them. Good times. Great theater. Great community out there. Good support.
I like the Esquire. It's a very cool spot. I like the way that it's, you definitely realize you're in a unique theater that it's unto itself. It's definitely not. It's not like when you go to like a Regal Cinemas or something like that, where there's the big hallway.
No, definitely. And what's great for anybody coming to the shows there, whether it's for us or just for any Esquire show, is if you show up early, there's everything you need within reach. There's nice bars, locally owned food, good stuff, so you can have a complete evening out and see the movies without leaving your parking space.
And they also got the modern thing going on there where they have like beer and wine and stuff. So when you go to see movies,
Yes.
you can have drinks. While
Modern
you're watching.
amenities in there a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Still got the fold down seats, but it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I really like that theater, man. The last thing I saw there was when New York Ninja was there, and
Yes.
we went to that,
Yeah.
and that was just way fun. And it's really cool, like to experience a movie where you're in a theater with other people that care, because it's a nice
100%.
It's one of those things where it's a nice mix of etiquette where people understand theater etiquette. So there's not a lot of people on their phone. There's not a lot of people having
And they're not afraid to
side
laugh
conversations
either.
But yes, people
Yeah.
but people are willing to laugh, and people are willing to heckle and make jokes at the right time
Yeah.
during the movie,
Yeah.
and people will cheer at shit, and it's a fun communal experience to have with other people that love movies.
The communal experience is big, and just being able to share that with Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky folks is big. And the Esquire has been really great about hosting those types of independently curated events, whether it's Secret Base or Torn Light or other folks. I know they have the LGBTQIA plus Film Fest or something. They have a series of films coming up in June. I think they said it was going to be Thursdays, perhaps. I'm not sure of that yet, but they're very inclusive about bringing different kinds of curation to the area, not being afraid to let people come in and show movies there. It's been a real good time.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I like about it is even like with the idea of like they are very open to a lot of different people can be there and have a lot of variety in what's being shown. I never get like a weird art house feel there. Like I never feel like
No,
like
it's very chill.
Yeah, it's very chill. Everybody's very nice. Like I never have like that weird like, oh, are you here to see this? It's there's none of that. Like everybody, like all the ushers are just very cool. They're like, hey man, what do you want?
Yeah.
So yeah, listener, if you're in the Cincinnati area, go to the Esquire and definitely check out Secret Base. They are constantly putting out cool shit. Well, look, man, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this show. So
Let's do it.
You hit me up not too long ago, and I was like, this is definitely an interesting topic. And you reached out to me and you said, hey, do you ever think about talking about Warhammer 40,000? And
I remember that text because I was just like so selfishly devouring everything that I could find on the internet, and I was like, I need Tank to just give me an episode just for me.
just for coming and talk.
Yeah.
I don't have the money.
It didn't even mean for me necessarily. I was just like, well, maybe he'll just have like somebody that actually knows what the hell he's talking about come on. But then you asked me, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Well, I mean, you brought it up, so I was like, well, obviously this guy has some things to say. Yeah, man, it's something that it's always been in my periphery. Like I know of like I know of it. I've bought art books from it to look at and then to draw stuff from, because it does have a really cool art style to it. But
the company is very invested with you learning about the art style. They do put out a lot of material so you can learn how to do the art too. That's cool too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. You're just jumping. You're like I want to talk about all
There's
of this.
lots of art stuff out there for you.
So and so I've always been curious about it. I'm like, oh, this seems kind of cool. And so then you reached out. We're like, hey, let's talk about this. I said, yeah, let's have a conversation. So and then I started looking up a little bit of stuff on it last night. I didn't realize it's by Games Workshop, which, by the way, the most straightforward name in the history of companies ever.
Games Workshop. We'll probably just call it like G-Dub or GW here on the podcast. So.
They're like, look, we're very to the point what this thing is. We are Car Garage. Like, we are putting out there exactly what it is we do. And
Car Garage.
And so, okay, it's the most popular miniature game in the world, particularly in the UK.
Yep. Very, very big in the UK, but yeah, bigger than chess.
Yeah, I always think it's interesting when stuff in the UK is popular and it makes the jump across the pond, because there's a lot of times where there's stuff going on in the United Kingdom that we just kind of don't know about. It's not part of our pop culture. It's more to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes stuff will come over like 2000 AD and Judge Dredd and things of that
Right,
nature.
yeah.
Where
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Like, where it's like, oh shit, like this is cool. Like this is your guys' thing. But
Couple things translate over, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's, and more so in music, more than not. But I did not know until later that there was like the huge beef between like Blur and Oasis. And there,
right?
yeah, and I learned about that a few years ago, and I was like, that was a thing, and my wife was like, oh, it was huge. And I'm like, I don't know any of this. Yeah. So it is cool when something does make the jump, and
Right.
yeah, man, and it's so just like kind of describe the world of it. Like, what is Warhammer 40,000?
Man, it's very big. It's huge. It encompasses lots of different hobbies and interests. There's sort of something for everybody. It's its own vertical hobby, if you will, vertical monopoly, if you will. There's art, there's books, there's comic books, there's video games, there's now mobile video games. Man, I just learned the other day that there's a book series that's some 30 plus going on, 30 books deep.
Oh,
Something
just like the lore of it and all that.
Yeah, by one guy who's got even more books than that, separately. You could get yourself completely lost in one whole aspect of the hobby, as it's called. There is at its core a mythology and a game, a tabletop game. The tabletop game uses figurines that used to be die-cast metals and now have made the transition to being plastic. And with the advent and more commonplace use of 3D printers, there's like third-party figures kind of showing up now on the scene too, I guess.
Nice.
I'll go ahead and give the disclaimer that Tank has already given everybody. I am definitely a newbie at this, learning as I go, and you're getting that early. I'd say I'm in my 4th month of this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting time to be into a hobby, because you're not even to the first full year of this.
No, I am building up towards what drew me into the hobby was I saw a YouTube video of what is called an apocalypse battle. And it's massive, thousands upon thousands of levels of points and, many, many figures on the field. And as a fan of chess myself, even though I'm awful at it, this became something that was much more immersive and something that I could get into. So the game itself is what drew me into it. And it is something that you could definitely get lost in. Let's see. What was the last thing we had?
So just kind of like what is the universe of
The
it?
universe,
Like
right.
how would you describe it? So okay, so from what I understand, like there's the Space Marines. That's like the thing that I know.
So yeah, here you
the
have
most from the series. That's kind of the Space Marines to me are kind of like the Mickey Mouse, where I'm like,
Yes.
where I'm like, I don't really know anything else in this universe, but I know what that is.
So that is jumping in specifically to the factions. So if you were the factions of the game, I say the game, but again, you could choose to involve yourself in the hobby in only one aspect and not in any other. Like you could just choose to read the books and that's all you want to do. You don't have to get into the game. Or like me, I'm mostly into the game and not crazy big into the mythology and stuff like that. The Space Marines, as you reference, is one of the many factions that are available, the armies that you choose from to play the game. And I have notes here because there are some like 20 plus of them.
Okay, and is each faction vying for is it like a battle of good versus evil, or is each one of these factions vying for supreme control?
Each of these factions, as I am learning, has their own personal motivations within the mythology. You can choose to engage with that mythology if you want. There are like good and bad. Most everybody in this mythology is super, super dark, so there's not really a whole lot of positive going on. There's actually a quote that was told to me when I asked how is there anything, is there like peace in this world? Is there any planets where humans and people just sort of exist in commonality? And the quote I received was, "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war." Meaning there is no planet of peace. Like everybody in this world is involved with warfare amongst one another. There are, let's see. So if you're asking about Space Marines, you have to think about the mythology a little bit, right?
Okay.
You have to engage with that a bit. Humanity exists. It's our timeline, 40,000 years into the future.
Hence.
Yeah. At this point, the humanity exists in this imperium. It's sort of there is a god emperor. You buckle in. It's all about to get super weird, super fast. Humanity is focused around, its focal point is this person called the God Emperor.
Okay.
Who in the past was a very important person involved with something called the Horus Heresy, which I do not know about yet, and I am still learning what that is about. But in his rise to power, he has unified all of humanity in a, effort to become one, a homogeny, if you will. And he is little more than a living corpse right now, kept alive on his throne for millennia. Thousands of people sacrifice to him daily to help keep him alive. And there are humans and lots of humans to choose from in the game, so to speak. There are different chapters and different subgenres that you can choose from within the different like Space Marine category. It sounds very disjointed and chaotic because it is. There are, goodness, I think 8 or 9 different kinds of human armies you can choose from, and all of them feed into that core mythology. Now, humanity is out amongst the stars. There are a class of things called Xenos, and those are all the aliens out there. There are aliens that you can choose to play from, such as orcs, the Tau, which is the closest thing to benevolent that I've seen so far in Warhammer. They are in the process of creating an empire and they believe in diplomacy and education and so on and so forth. But if you're not on board,
They slaughter you.
it's total war.
Right.
But humanity is its own wrapped up entity, and the Space Marines are part of that. And so many of the different types and flavors of things that you're choosing from is all based around killing the aliens. There's big othering going on
Yeah.
amongst all the stuff here. There are chaos demons, which feeds into an even wackier aspect of the fantasy. There is something called the warp, which is a parallel dimension. But it is very central to this mythology too. The warp is a parallel dimension in which all of your thoughts are real. Like if you have a paralysis demon, he's real in that world and he's trying to come after you. And there are entities within that realm that are so incredibly powerful that they could be thought of as gods, but they're more like powerful celestial entities, if you will.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And there's a dynamic that exists between humanity against these forces of chaos, if you will, as they're referred to in the warp. The God Emperor unified humanity in a distaste for religion. The entities that live within the warp thrive upon attention, and so therefore it's called, worshiping. And oftentimes, without a better word to refer to these powerful entities, they're just referred to as gods. So there's immediately just that clash. The forces of chaos that exist in the warp are trying to get at the forces of
Humanity.
those that are not within the warp.
See-
We won't say good, but yeah, humanity.
And that's all we have to do to end racism in this world, to bring humanity together, is just give us something else to be against. So
Right.
if we can just have some, like, I don't know, 9 foot tall purple monsters that we have to kill,
Right.
everybody's going to be on board, and finally we have world peace on Earth.
Amen. Amen to that.
All right. Well, I'm glad Warhammer's lighting the way with this.
No, there is nothing positive in the mythology of Warhammer that I have found yet.
And it looks metal as shit. Like
Super metal.
Like everything with, so listener, again, you're probably familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, and therefore you're familiar with sword and sorcery, the way a berserker looks, or an elf archer, just, it's really easy to be like, oh yes, I've seen Lord of the Rings. But with something like Warhammer 40,000, where it's this futuristic take on that, you do see some common stuff like humans and orcs that you find in board games.
Oh, yeah.
But the aliens are fucking crazy looking in Warhammer, and then also the armor classes that exist and the way armor looks in the game, because it is
the aesthetic will draw you right in. 100%.
I don't know who came up with it and how they decided that, but like the idea of the Space Marines being like, you're like 8 or 9 feet tall, and
so the God Emperor
armor.
kind of enacted this program where you're like post-human almost, right? There's genetic mutations and chemicals and cybernetic implants that are given to those that are conscripted into the Imperium's army. And by the way, everybody is involved with the Imperium's army. If you are human, there's every aspect of your life and society is caught up in the Imperium.
It's the military-industrial complex to an extreme.
To the most extreme. It's the only way that humanity really teeters on existence anymore, because there's so much crazy violence out there in space.
It's 100% war effort where everybody's on board. So it's like World War II on steroids.
But the suits are all part of that, like, over-the-top crazy aesthetics, and the humans inside of them are definitely, like several feet bigger and wider than you and I. Mm-hmm. They are carrying giant suits. Listener, just Google Space Marines and you'll see the most ridiculous, over-the-top metal jackboot armor there is,
and also
lots of different flavors and chapters to choose from.
And also, if you want to see something super cool, YouTube Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine cosplay, because there are people that will go and will cosplay as Space Marines. I
haven't even gone down that rabbit hole yet, dude.
And a lot of those people wear stilts. So when you see
that, you know it's good.
Yeah, so they build them to like they build them to scale of what they would be in the game, to scale if they really exist. And you'll see people walking around, they're like 8 or 9 feet tall in these suits of armor that are like as wide as like a love seat.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh shit, like this thing's coming down the aisle at me.
Yeah. Space Marines are definitely I would say they're probably the fan favorite of tabletop players. I'm not sure if it has to be true, because there are so many different kinds of, we talk about Space Marines, but there's tons of other humans in the Imperium that you can choose to play from. There are like space Vikings called the Space Wolves.
Whoa.
And they have super thick armor like all that too, but they incorporate like, crazy axes and furs into their aesthetic. There's Grey Knights, Death Watch, which was crazy over the top. Like, if you like the armor aspect, Death Watch is a group that is specifically elite, like first responders to those living on the fringe of the Imperium. If you're living on a far-flung planet, Death Watch are the guys that come to save you if there's nobody to save you.
If something goes wrong.
And there is just like very hardened men.
Nice.
They say like of the Space Marines, only 1 in 100 could even be thought of for the Death Guard, or the Death Watch. I'm sorry. The Death Guard is an actual thing, but they are servants of one of the Chaos Gods.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of, again, cool metal aesthetics, cool metal names.
Yes.
And I know I've seen it from the books. There's like commandos, and there's just kind of like regular soldiers almost, just dudes with machine guns.
Yeah. Those are the Astra Militarum. They all have these sort of religious sort of undertones to their naming. even though the God Emperor did not want religion, in the end, they ended up worshiping him, and they still do, and that's why they keep him alive, I think. But the Astra Militarum is just, those are the regular guys. They're not augmented, crazy. They just look like you and I, and they're very cool to look at. You could honestly pick them up, paint them, and put them into any diorama, and they would work as like cool military guys.
Super cool.
Yeah.
What about the weapons? So you kind of mentioned
Yeah.
like you mentioned like Viking axes. We've talked a little bit about the guns. Like, what are these dudes packing?
That is just another really engaging part of, if you're into the blasters of sci-fi or just the aesthetic of the game, there's a million and one flavors to choose from, even amongst the armies. And of the different factions that you can choose from, which I think there are like, gosh, I want to say there's between like 25 or 30 different factions you can choose from. All the different subgenres and flavors of them have their own weaponries and their own abilities within the games. When you're taking, battle turns with you and your opponent, they all have their own weapons. I think a pretty iconic one seems to be this sort of chainsaw blade.
Yeah.
There's a race of cybernetic zombies called the Necrons, and they use a weapon called the Gauss cannon.
Nice.
Yeah, stuff like that. But what drew me in is like the big stuff. They are like, big stompas for the orcs, big moving fortresses and tanks. And there's even planes and jets and stuff like that to choose from.
Whoa.
Yeah. You can have reinforcements brought in through air support and stuff like that.
Cool. Very cool.
Very neat stuff.
Well, okay, so let's get into let's table like kind of some of the overall talk for a second. Let's get kind of more into your story here.
Okay.
So, what got you to decide to start playing? So, like you said, you saw the Apocalypse match on on YouTube, and it was this like immediate click where you're like, I need in on this, and did you go down like a Google rabbit hole, or what happened next?
A bit, yeah. So, I mean, growing up, the comic book shop kid in the 90s, Warhammer was one of those things that just kind of was in the way with guys playing when I was looking for comics and stuff. But in recent years, I've moved away from playing Magic, and I didn't really click with Dungeons and Dragons. And a friend of mine sent me a video of that big Apocalypse battle with Warhammer. And I said, oh, this is very much up my alley. There's stuff to look at. There's things to do. You're moving all the time, and the action is, quick once you get with it. So, a couple Google rabbit holes later, and a friend of mine who was he was very new to it as well, I guess a few steps ahead of where I was, fed into my interest of it. And as he was discovering new things, he was passing it off to me. And I was thinking, yeah, I could really get into this. I like the aspect that there's strategy, but I'm not chained down to a dungeon master like D&D. I'm very much in control of my pieces.
Okay, okay, so wait, stop, pause. So in my head, Warhammer has always just been like another version of D&D, and
Yes.
and you're telling me that there's not a dungeon master involved here.
No, you have complete control over your guys. You can choose to purchase in on missions and be told, to follow along with campaigns and so on and so forth. But the ultimate rule with Warhammer is to have fun and use the rules that make sense for you and your opponent to have the most fun. And if you and I just want to sit down and have a battle, we can have a battle as long as we agree on what is called a point value.
Okay.
Meaning each of the pieces that you have to make units, the unit of measurement used in the game, you and I have equal number of units to go up against one another. You will have a book called a codex for the pieces for the faction that you use, and I will have a book called a codex for the team that I use.
Okay.
And they run used to new between 20 and $60.
Okay. So is that for the book and then the set that you get with it? Is it like a package deal?
Well, no, you buy your sets and your pieces separately.
Okay.
There is a learning curve. Go to a Games Workshop shop here in Cincinnati. It's in the Hyde Park Plaza. The guy who runs it is Cam. He's a very nice guy, very, very good for new folks. And you have to piece together your army as you go along a bit. There is a bit of a learning curve. Follow what they generally recommend, and once you have those pieces, you have your codex, I have my codex, and the codex will give you what is called a data sheet for each of your players. Very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, where you have your own data sheet, but it gives you, your movement, where your pieces can move, your hit strength for each of your pieces. It tells you how each of your pieces behave, and then you go from there. You each have what are called battle rounds, where each of you has a turn. Each turn is comprised of 7 phases within that turn. It is, actually, I have that turned down. The command phases that each of you and I would take would be command, movement, psychic, shooting, charge, fight, and morale.
Okay.
I would start, and then you would go, and that would be like a battle round. Okay. So no, there's no dungeon master. It's just a set steps, and then you guys go for it.
Would we ever be on the same team, or is it always a 1v1 battle? Okay, and then in that case, would it be us versus other players?
100%.
Okay, so
or if you had a guy that had a Mac Daddy army, like let's say you and I are only worth, we only have the figures, we only have the sets that are worth 1,000. Let's say something like 500. We could go up against a guy, you and I could both go up against a guy who had like 1,000 or 1,500 or something like that. We could try to match somebody who was bigger than us.
Higher than us, right.
So orcs are known for, the green wave. They're a swarm. That's how they, that's their play style, is very much get in close, have some melee. And if you guys had, say, like, the Astra Militar, like you said, the Space Marines, guys that were good at shooting, or like the Tau Army, they're the aliens. They're very good at ranged attacks, things like that. You can, try to shoot them from far away.
Cool. Okay, I like this, and I like the fact that something that you're saying here is I'm so used to kind of hearing this from like the Dungeon Master idea, where it's like you're versing kind of them, or they're telling a story, and you're going up, you're working as a team, you're going up against, like, this is totally different, where this is way more like you're saying chess, or more like a board game where there is a one-on-one aspect. There's and this also makes sense as somebody's coming from the world of Magic, where this is what you're growing up on, that this would be the next transition.
And it can be very modular too. Like you and I could set up a ping pong table or this whole basement. And just be like, yep, this is what we're going to do. It's going to take, 4 fucking hours, and that's just what we're going to do, and it's going to be a massive battle. As long as your pieces move in what is called unit coherency. So if, the codex says if you're going to use this guy, he has to be attached to the 3 other guys. You have to stay at least 2 inches away from that guy. New listeners that are interested, please ignore anything related to the rules that I talk about, because it's going to sound super intimidating. But once you actually play it, it clicks. It's okay. So it sounds crazy, like there's a lot of rules. And even when you start reading and looking at videos, it sounds like that too. So don't be scared of the rules, guys. It's very simple once it starts clicking. But yeah, you do have a great amount of control over your pieces. And you can also buy into that, like if you want to have like a campaign. Those do exist. But you and I could just say, like, Saturday I've got 2 hours. Let's do this.
Come over, hang out, make this thing happen. All right, cool. Yeah, I really do like the way the setup of this. Like, this does seem like a cool way to do it that is definitely different from the traditional D&D thing.
Yeah.
All right, so you got in. Okay, so you got in. You went to the store. You bought your codex. You got some figures. What next? Who was your first battle? Like what?
I have not done that yet.
Oh shit. Okay.
I am still waiting upon that. So where I am in that specific aspect of the journey is it took me actually I chose the slow route and chose to choose my army very slowly. I did not jump into that decision lightly. And that's based off of what other people telling me like, hey, you're going to spend a lot of time painting these things and getting them ready and spending money on it. Make sure that it's something that you're going to be cool looking at for a long time. Make sure the play style is something that you're going to be cool with before you want to jump into a new army.
Okay.
So
Because you're making an investment here. I mean, you're paying
yeah.
you're paying $20 to $60 for a book, then you're paying for your figurines, and then you got to go through the process of painting, and you got to buy your paint.
Yeah, and the paint is not terrible. The figures is where it happens. Speaking of, finances, it's usually most expensive to start. The first purchase is going to be somewhere in the $100 to $200 range. If you want to get everything you need at once, which I personally, just on a personal level, I can't finance like that. So I usually, string my purchases out over months. It's going to cost you, $300, $400, retail. eBay is your friend on this.
Yep.
But back to being where I am on my journey, I spent several months selecting my army.
And you went with?
The orcs.
You went with the orcs.
Yes.
Solid pick.
The rugby players of the Warhammer universe. The comic reliefs often described as the only happy race because they worship violence.
They're like, we are having so much fun right now.
Yeah, they're totally in their element within this universe. I selected the orcs, and I am now painting them and building up, my reserve of paints that I will need in order to, paint all of the orcs I will need in the future, so to speak. Which, again, may sound intimidating to people that are just curious about the hobby at this point, but I would say there's a lot of very affordable options out there, and there are 1,000,001 videos that slowly hold your hand through the artistic process. And if you just want to buy pre-painted figures, you can. So that also exists, but I am not done painting my guys, and I have not had my first opponent, and that is the very long answer to your question.
Is it important for you to paint your own figures? Like, is that something where you're like, I want to?
I consider myself an artist, so I used to do oil painting and sculpture quite a bit, and so when I got into this, the bug bit me, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this myself and learn it. And it's very similar to any other paintings where it's like, you paint you paint cold to hot, dark to light.
Nice.
Dark to light, cold to hot. There you go.
Is
Colors, that is. And, you have lots of different colors to choose from and paint styles to choose from.
Okay, so with it, like, is it kind of a one shot where once you put it on, it's on in one layer, or is it something you got to do multiple layers of?
The best advice that seems to be passed around commonly via Reddit and YouTube is do 2 thin layers of each kind of color.
Okay.
So if, like with me with the orcs, I have 3 different kinds of green. The first green I'm going to put on is the darkest, and I'm going to let it pool in like his abs and like low areas of the sculpture, if you will. The next layer is going to be a medium light layering, like a more opaque paint. And again, 2 light layers of each of these. The final one is going to be an almost yellow greenish.
Kind of get that sheen, that highlight.
And just paint where you think the light is going to hit. So top of abs, top of chest, forehead, things like that. And it really brings it to life.
When you bring in, like, or when you see other people's armies, and do people comment on the paint jobs? They're like, oh, nice, like that's good.
Yeah, it seems to be it is a very big thing within the hobby that I've seen so far. I've follow about 2 guys on Instagram, and there are competitions even over this apparently. There are guys that compete and take their armies that they have painted themselves, really, truly works of art. I saw one, it was a Tau army, which is, again, the alien, very sci-fi looking guys. Their larger vehicles, and if you will, that they have are biomechanical, and everything was painted in this neon sort of creamsicle orange and red that was very psychedelic, and he had won first place in that in a competition over in England, I think it was.
Very cool.
But referring back, there is definitely, you do not have to paint. If you want to get into Warhammer, if painting is not important to you, don't even worry about it. There's plenty of options to purchase already painted armies out there. There are guys that do commissions. If you are, like if you're already an established artist yourself, if you got into this and got very good, there are guys that charge a lot of money to do commission paintings where people will just say, hey, I'm sending you my Beast Snaga Boys, or I'm sending you, my Tau or the Astra Guard or whatever, and I need this. And you're like, all right, this is a small piece. This is, several medium pieces, or this is a very large mech that you're having me paint. They charge some big money for some of these guys.
Which makes sense. And this then goes again into a thing with collecting where it's just like there are tiers of collecting, and especially when you get into something like this where it's akin to like getting somebody to like paint your car, like do pinstriping for you. Where it's, hey, there's a guy that does this, and he ain't cheap, but it's your shit's gonna rock. Yeah.
I mean, there's affordable options too. Like if you want to have, you can scale, for your own finances. You're like, I have no. Let's say you have no artistic inclinations whatsoever. There are guys, and you have no money. There are guys out there that will paint your figures for you.
Nice.
Or you can purchase your own.
Well, and you kind of talked about it there a minute ago. So, like, there's not just the figures themselves. There's vehicles and mechs and stuff as well. Oh my gosh,
yeah, mechs. That's a very important aspect of it. There's not just your melee fighters. There are psychers, what are called. They have psychic and mental abilities that they channel the warp energy through their bodies. And there are mechs and vehicles that do and provide various things to your army. Like if you want to play for, reinforcements, there are vehicles that you will need to employ to help you with that. If your opponent has, say, large vehicles, it would probably behoove you to have large vehicles. There's a lot of cool things to choose from out there, and that's part of the fun, is more than just your melee or your shooters. It's the support units that you can provide as well.
See, and I think that is a very interesting aspect of it, and it's also one of those things too where it makes sense as a company to make, where it's like, all right, let's make more things and more.
Well, yeah, remind me, in D&D, you have your core character set is what? Bard, barbarian, your fighter.
Yeah.
Gosh,
there's lizard men, there's wizards.
Right.
There's all the different stuff. And that also is something that has since grown. That was something...
I'm sure it has since I last played it, so if there's like 1,000,000,001, I'm totally wrong on this, but I feel like Warhammer just has like more of that to you to provide of.
Yeah, there's... The thing with Warhammer is just the sheer size of it, and as you talked about, like the idea that there's like, okay, there's 20 factions, essentially races of things, and, and then you just keep like subgenring down from there, where it's like, okay...
Or they call them chapters.
Okay.
So if you're a human, you can be a space marine, or a different chapter would be the Space Wolves or the Sisterhood of the Blood or the Blood Angels, stuff like that. Right. They call them chapters. So.
And it's just interesting with that, where it just keeps like splitting down.
Yeah.
And then those have their own subgenres that exist within them, and the different paint schemes and stuff you can do.
Yeah.
And that was something like
And the paint schemes is cool too, because that in itself you can totally choose to ignore.
Yeah.
You don't have to, like, if you want to play, the Blood Angels, which is a faction of the humans that has like this scarlet armor. You could make them purple.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want. and just call them that, as long as you follow the rules, quote unquote, for that, the codex for that group.
Yeah. You can paint it however you want, make it whatever you want, which is also very cool. The idea of like the own personality and thing that you add to it. But when you start getting into like the bigger pieces, what kind of price tag does that bring with it when you start buying larger vehicles, and how big are these things?
So the tanks or the basics, orcs, like planes and stuff like that, seem to be about like 2 fists.
Wow.
Like it's softball, a little bit larger. There's something called a stompa that the orcs, it's like a movable fortress for them that seems to be even a little bit bigger than that. But Space Marines using tanks, it's I would say about 2 fists worth.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very engaging for the eye as well. Once you have them all painted up and laid out there, it's very cool. And they provide, your units to do different things. You're not supposed to know what, your opponent has going up against them. Of course, if you get into the community, you start to learn people's different setups and stuff like that. But you're not supposed to know what your opponent has. What you're supposed to agree upon is the point count. Like, I'm going to bring 2,000 points, and we're going to go for 3 or 4, 3 to 5 battle rounds, whatever it takes to get through, 2,000. As long as you bring 2,000, you can bring any units you want. If that's like a couple large tanks and a fortress or whatever, then that's it. If it's the orcs and it's just a giant swarm of them, then so be it. You have a giant swarm of orcs going up against a few mechs.
So then with the hit points, like, when something is like 500 units or 1,000 units, is that your 1,000 units of like health, or is that like 1,000 units of offensive power?
I believe it is a bit of both there.
Okay.
That is something so like what I have here laid out that the viewer cannot see is I have 4 orc figures that are part of the Beast Snaga Boys set, and they come as a unit themselves. So when you buy the Orc Codex, the Beast Snaga Boys, and what they can do, their abilities will be listed in there. And that will give you their value system, that is their point system that's brought forward, right? And yes, it is in a number associated with their like hit points, what it will take to destroy them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because that's kind of where I was like trying to figure out with like the way this works is the idea of like how to like I understand the idea of like
their life force.
Yeah, and agreeing upon like 1,000, and then it's like, okay, cool, we can agree on 1,000. So you could be somebody. Okay, so in this case,
we can't just say the Beast Boys are worth 1,000. The Codex will tell you they're worth
what
like
their
50.
worth is. Okay, cool. Okay, there it is. Okay, fine, I get that. Okay, so then it can be a thing where it's like, maybe it's possibility that
you need to have the figures to represent the points to agree upon. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say, I'm going to have 1,000 points and bring 1 figure. You have to have all the figures that will equal up to that.
Okay,
the hit points, if you will, HP.
Perfect. Okay, I'm with you on that. And so then this gives the ability to, the more you get into this hobby, the more you can like. So, for example, let's say you've been playing at this point for like 5 years, and I'm playing, it's my first game. You might have amassed an army that altogether your HP is like 40,000, whereas I'm like, I got 500. So you're like, okay, let me break a crumb off of what I have, and I'll meet you here with this.
Exactly. So if you have an opponent that's willing to play you, you could say, I only have this many. Can you meet me? And they'll be like, yeah. And they'll just, gather whatever pieces they have in order to equal that amount. And you guys meet up and go at it. But I believe it is, I can't remember if it was list stacking or what the term is referred to when it's like you're trying to find out what your opponent's going to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. But it was told to me that it is frowned upon.
It is not the rules of the game, so.
Yeah, like you guys will agree upon what the points that you will bring forward to one another in like a time frame. Like we'll set aside an amount of time to go through this many points.
Okay.
And you guys will just surprise each other.
Pistols at dawn. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
All right. Like, be cool about this. You know, we got there's a whole thing here that we have.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Okay. I'm with you. All right. This sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. I do like the idea of the buy-in of this where you can't just like jump in and be like, hey, I'm playing now. Like, there really is this thing where you're having to kind of sit on the sidelines and learn, paint, build stuff, and build your army and getting it all together. It's very cool. It's a very committed collection.
Play into your
hobby.
patience on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to play into your patience with this hobby, if the idea of taking your time to get into something that is immersive is appealing to you, it is very much worth it. You know, I spent months selecting my army, just kind of reading about what their playing style was like versus other playing styles and looking at a bazillion and one different paintings variations for each of the armies I was interested in and their restrictions and so on and so forth. I'm a big fan of variety, so the orcs have a lot of things to choose from, and their melee style of fighting was what appealed to me. Now, if you let's see, only want to do just one aspect of it, like we were saying, like just the painting, you can do that as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it definitely is one of those things where it's an intellectual property where it really is embracing the universe aspect of it by how large it is. And then also the fact that there is the ability to have lore that's popping up around it. Because, I mean, I've definitely seen there's movies that are available of this now. Yeah. There's books. As you said earlier, the video game thing. And I feel like that's something they're really starting to push.
Oh, yeah.
Is like they're really trying to come out with really good Warhammer games. Because, again, the universe and the look of the universe is so cool that it makes sense that making killer video games for this would be just a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, and just further touching on that, like sitting on the sidelines aspect, it's a fun part of it too, you know what I mean? And with all of the different things that you just mentioned, being so many different flavors to choose from in which to engage the hobby, it's a lot of fun and could also be overwhelming to somebody that's new. I would say, again, just reinforcing the taking your time aspect. Figure out what is like best for you. Like, do you want to do the game? Do you just want to read the books? Are you wanting to do all of it? Definitely plan out time and money because, like, gauge what you would realistically be able to spend on the hobby because you can go nuts really fast.
Yeah. Well, and especially in something like this where it is such a wide open world of stuff that's available to you. It's like, hey, man, if you want to fall down the rabbit hole, you can. It's going to cost you, but you can do it.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's...
rabbit hole's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense, too, because it's a whole thing where you're building stuff that you're using. It's like everything that's involved with the game,
if you want, you could just literally collect the sculptures.
Of course.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No, but that... Yeah, just kind of the thought process of that, just how deep and quickly you could get into this if you wanted to.
100%.
And that's the thing that, again, like stems into other collections. I think of that, especially with something like vinyl. Like there's times where I go and I don't buy records for a month and then I go and I buy like 15 of them, in one day. And I definitely have friends that are on that path of like, they might, if they're doing online shopping as well, then it's like there's periods where people buy like a record a day or multiple records a day for weeks on end.
Well, dude, I want to hear you talk about your sculpture collection because that's how I thought you might be most interested in like engaging in it. It was the artistic aspect.
Yeah, man. Well, I've been collecting toys for about 20 years now. So I got a pretty good collection of stuff upstairs. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm running out of room with it. Yeah. And so now I'm having to figure that out. And then as I say that,
so where do you usually buy yours? Like, how do you usually get yours stuff? What inspires you to buy it?
Okay. Oh, okay. Multiple questions there. All right. So where am I getting toys at? So my two main places, when I was really hot into it, I was a few years ago And I've been into it, but I've had, like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years. But I have periods of dormancy where I'm just kind of buying every once in a while. And then there was periods where I was like weekly going.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a job that was near the toy department, up near Jungle Gyms in Fairfield.
Okay.
And so it was literally a 5-minute drive from my office, and I would just go there about once a week. And they had a bunch of just bagged figures where it was used stuff where people. One of the things that's cool about the toy market is there is a lot of people that are trading stuff in and out.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not somebody that gives a
Always.
shit about something being in the original box, you can get a pretty good discount on that. And I've never been a big box guy. I've always been I'm not planning on selling this, so I'm going to pop it out immediately and it's going into the collection.
Yes.
So that was the one spot. And then the other spot where I get a lot of stuff from is this toy shop in Lexington, Kentucky that's called Toy Vomit.
Okay.
Love
it.
Toy Vomit is awesome. It's run by my dude Nathan and his wife Maggie, and they or Maggie, not Maggie, sorry. Like Nathan has really turn this into something that's very unique because he has both the ability to price items, which I don't like. He's the kind of guy where you can put something in front of him. He's like, this is worth that. And I'll pay that for it.
Yeah.
And he also doesn't flinch at multiple $1,000 deals in cash where it's like, oh yeah, we can make this happen.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those wheeling and dealing sales guys. But at the same time, he's also really got the gift of gab and also just a cool personality. And he thinks about that in their social media. So he has a mask that he wears. He has like a luchador mask.
Love
and
it.
you don't really see him without it. So it's kind of cool to actually get to meet him and become his friend where you see him without the mask. You actually get to meet the dude. That's a lot of fun. But if he's working the store for big events, he's masked up.
Yeah.
And they're probably the biggest professional wrestling toy store I've ever been to in my life. They have a 50-foot wall that's just like pro wrestling toys. And it's really snowballed on them in the past few years where now like they're starting to collect, like they have like gigantic Star Wars black collections. They have like a bunch of they have
I
a bunch
remember
of aliens
the
and stuff.
Dark Wizard of Oz series that
Oh, whoa.
McFarlane did a
Yeah.
while ago. God, what was that? A
That-
friend of mine had that whole series, including the Munchkins.
Yeah, and there's some of that stuff that you'll find there as well, like the McFarlane stuff, a lot of NECA stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. NECA's killing it.
Yeah, NECA. I love NECA. And so, yeah, man. So, yeah, I definitely, and I think now I'm kind of going towards, have you been to Earth? Yeah. Have you been to Earth to Kentucky yet?
Oh, yeah. They have actually sponsored secret
in the
base
ba-
events. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I find myself now is like now I'm starting to slide down that way, and because my buddy
Love it.
Jamie
Yes.
started making toys, and I'm like,
I
oh,
saw
shit.
his red cartridge with
Yeah.
that monster up there. I love it.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I instantly like, I got to buy this from you. And now going from in there, I'm like, oh, this is like cool artsy stuff, and I love how one-off and unique it is. And so I'm like, now I find myself traveling in this direction. All right, so so this definitely being at least a minimum of a 2-player game. It needs to be a 1v1. Where the hell do you
Yeah.
find people to play at? Like, is this a thing where are there standing games at places like standing game nights, or is there a thing where is there like a Reddit network or something where you can find people in the Cincinnati area to play? How does this work?
Seems to be a bit of both. There's the Games Workshop store in the Hyde Park Plaza is holding events on Saturdays, and I believe, if I heard it right or understood it right, as the year goes by, they are escalating the number of point values to show up. So the later months in the year will be bigger and bigger armies. If you need anybody to do battle with, there is no shortage of avenues to gain access to opponents. There's lots of different options online, Facebook, Reddit. The store will help you link you up with players. There's tons of people there. I've been pretty happy as I've been engaging with the hobby as a new person that there seems to be no shortage of people that are willing to help you and, plug in with that and try to guide you along the way and, play you as a new person. So there's definitely people to play with out there.
That's awesome that when you find people that are welcoming into that to a new hobby, because it is one of those things where It's, hey, if I'm nice to this person and they stick around, this only benefits me because now I have somebody else to play with,
Right.
and now there's somebody else in the mix. So I think that's a major important part of hobbies is trying to make people feel welcome when they first come in, especially if it's something that's dependent on others. Jiu-jitsu was always like that, where it was always like, hey, if it's somebody's first day in the gym, be nice to them. We're trying to get them to come back because the more people you have to train with, the more
The better.
variety you have.
Love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's cool.
The community in Cincy seems to be pretty thriving, as I can tell of it so far, because they have their own dedicated, proprietary store here in Cincinnati, and I guess there's big budget talks of a live action universe coming to one of the big streamers. So there's even more focus coming into the hobby as it is. So there's going to be for those of you that want to make the leap, it seems to be like it's going to be worth it in the long run.
Yeah, that's pretty wild that they have their own store. I didn't quite catch that the first time you were talking about it. And to put two together, it's like, oh no, it's a Games Workshop store.
Proprietary.
It's just we sell the stuff we make here.
Yeah. Yep.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
It's in the Hyde Park Plaza where the Remke used to be, right in there. It's just their own proprietary store, and they sell all the products in there that's related to Warhammer, and Age of Sigmar is another one of their games that they sell, which is like a fantasy version, fantasy flavored version of Warhammer, whereas Warhammer is much more hard sci-fi. Age of Sigmar seems to be more fantasy.
Cool. Okay, so giving you a little variety there.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then is Blood Bowl part of the Warhammer world, or is that its own thing, something else?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so Blood Bowl was this cool video game, and I don't know if it's part of the Warhammer universe or not, but I'll at least talk about it. Did you as a kid, did you ever play the Mutant League football game or Mutant League hockey on Sega Genesis?
No.
Okay.
No, but I'm loving that.
Okay.
I had a Sega Genesis.
Okay, so back in the day, EA Sports, before they became the modern day awful version of EA Sports, they had this series called Mutant League, and what they did was they just took for the football game, they just took Madden and reskinned it, and same thing with the Mutant League hockey, they just reskinned their NHL game. But you would play as all sorts of you'd play as all sorts of like swords and sorcery and horror and sci-fi characters. And so you would have people like, you would have skeletons, you'd have orcs, you'd have all these characters in the game, and then you would have stuff where different fields would have different obstacles. So there was there was one field that had a bunch of fire pits in it. So you could literally be running the ball and fall into a fire pit or a spike pit.
Yeah.
You could bribe the referees in both games. If you got into a fight, it was to the death. And that was the other way you could actually win games by killing the other team. And that's how you could also lose games. So you could be up, you could be up like 21-7 in a football game, but then you're playing a team of orcs and they just kill you and now they win. So yeah, those games were cool. And based off of that, Blood Bowl was then made, and Blood Bowl is kind of the same idea of a fantasy football game that you're playing with lizard men and orcs and all the usual characters, but you roll, and it's dice based, and then you have to roll to then make yourself go down the field to score and also to tackle.
Okay.
Stuff. Yeah. So,
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
I didn't know if there was. I don't know where it falls within the world of board games.
I'm not sure, but I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, but Blood Bowl is pretty cool.
I like that.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of what this thing is. So, okay, the fact that, they have their own store.
Yeah.
What about conventions, man? Like, do they have their own conventions, or are they part of other conventions?
So conventions, I from my understanding, it's more of, games conventions exist, right? And Games Workshops is going to be pretty much present at any of those. They're more geared towards getting people together for big tournaments and stuff like that. So or for aesthetic and like judging competitions, things like that. So if you're into the con scene, or like if you get bit by the bug and you decide you want to go all in, there's definitely avenues for you to go at, and you can shine. There are very big battle competitions over in England, as well as here in the States, all over the country. It's, a very big hobby. And yeah, that's, I would say, more geared towards battle than it would be like conventions. Because conventions to me, I'm thinking like comic book conventions where it's more geared towards like the consumer aspect of it. You're designed to purchase things, pay for things,
Yeah.
appearances, and so on and so forth. I think it's more like entry fees.
Yeah, entry fees, go in, play
Yeah.
the game, and then also again just having dealers there where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
I have this
Artists for commission
yeah,
and
all
stuff
that
like
kind of
that,
stuff,
yeah.
and just really bringing the community together. And that's the other thing too, is like giving people the ability to hang out and talk
Yeah.
and commiserate over their own thing. Because
Yeah.
there's one thing to be able to do that at your local shop, but now taking that to this thing where it's like, oh, now I can meet somebody from Columbus or Cleveland, or this
Right.
person came from Chicago. Like I'm going to talk to them.
Exactly.
And now, or you're maybe you're talking to friends online, and this is the time you get to see them in person.
Getting to play against somebody that has like just a legendary, beautiful army, just a very famous army, so to speak.
Oh, is there is there so in the world of Warhammer and the collecting stuff, um is there any limited edition stuff? Like is there anything that goes out of print and then it's like an overpowered weapon or anything like that?
I asked about that, and the response I got was most of the things that get retired are for good reason, like obsolete. Like there's just better things that take its place. It's a good question. I don't have the best answer for that one.
Yeah, because I always wonder about that, especially with this kind of thing where it's
Yes,
like,
they exist, but in the reality of like you buying something that will go obsolete, I've been told that that's less of a concern. If that was more of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt again.
no, just but just thinking of that within collections where there is stuff that comes out where it's, hey man, you got like a limited window to get this and it's gone. And thinking,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and thinking about that too on this competitive level where it's like, hey dude, like there was only 300 of these made and it ain't coming back.
Yeah.
And you see that pop up in a lot of different collections. Shoe collecting, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Like with like the stuff that happens with Nike drops and Jordan drops.
Yes.
And then like I have a few friends that are into that scene, and you're trying to go in on a waiting list and get stuff, or like be the person that
Yeah,
as soon
100%. There are things that sell
Yeah,
out for
yeah.
sure, and
And-
I think every time I've gone into the GW shop, there's like something, out on the counter that's a special thing or whatnot. The most recent updated codex was for a faction called the World Eaters.
Oh, cool.
That came out last week. I think you would like that. They're a renegade faction of the Imperium that went over to the Chaos in the
Cool.
Warp. And and actually, Games Workshop has a free like figure of the month
Oh, cool.
that they put out, and it is free. They put it out, they give it to all their shops, and it's free for their employees to hand out as they see fit. And the free figure this month was a World Eater figure, and I actually picked it up for you.
Oh, dude, thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Pick that up.
Hell yeah, dude.
Go
Oh.
ahead and open that up. I'm gonna get the picture
All right.
of
Nice,
the
nice,
character.
nice.
It's
Cool.
it's kind of like a shock trooper here.
Oh,
Let's see.
Sick. Okay, so I got a little stand, and then it's like a little pewter gray listener. So it's got like this like kind of a chainsaw battle axe.
Yes, he is
It's like a chainsaw machete.
Yes, it's the chainsaw sword there. I've got the figure. He's kind of this like berserker. He when built, his arms are splayed wide, and here we go.
Dude, this is so sick. Thank you.
So
Oh, nice. Hell yeah, dude. Oh, this dude looks intense. Yeah, listener, this thing kind of looks like if you remember Rictus from
there you go.
yeah, from Mad Max Fury Road, he kind of looks like that, like just kind of big Nathan Jones looking dude with this sweet chainsaw sword and a chainsaw axe. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Do I have to glue this together? Does it snap together? How does this work?
Yeah. So when you build these, you could just toss my phone or somewhere. It's no big deal. You snap those out with the similar sort of clippers you use for building Gundams or anything like that. I've even been able to use toenail clippers to get those things out of there. A safety razor will kind of clean up the edges. There's a specific glue that you use that you can put on there. You can super glue them, but the modeling glue that they sell at the Games Workshop actually melts the plastic
Cool.
together. So when you put it together, it is forever, ever.
It stands.
Yeah, it's a single structure at that point. But you can, again, listeners or you can use whatever you have available. If you don't want to go and buy this glue, it's not expensive, but you can use super glue if you want.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Hell yeah. Well, look, so going through this tonight, this is one of those things where I feel like we could just keep falling down the well here because it is just so deep. Is there anything that we didn't hit that you wanted to talk about that we didn't come across in conversation?
Not so much. I would just say, again, for anybody that is, again, if you're an experienced general at this, I'm very sorry for my novice input. But if you are a new person like me, or you're just curious, or have even just heard about it, don't get intimidated or overwhelmed by how large the hobby seems to be, and just do what makes you happy. The number one rule is do whatever works for you and have fun doing it. So if you just want to collect the figures and paint them, do that. If you just want to read the books because you're into, sci-fi blasting, go for it. If you want to get into the game like I did, buckle in and have fun. Don't worry about the rules. It's really not that difficult.
All right. Hell yeah. Solid advice. Well, what's the future for you? I mean, so again, you're not even 6 months into this thing.
I'm gonna keep building up the orc army. My goal setting in was to do an apocalypse battle, so I want to have several thousand I want to have several thousand points under my belt. I was really intrigued by that. I'm gonna keep building up the orcs. Death Watch and Death Guard were both very hard second choices for my army, so those are probably going to be the other ones. One being, Space Marines, hardened Space Marines. The other one being these warped sort of, if you imagine Gwar being a Space Marine faction, they serve one of the evil chaos gods in the warp. So they have these, intense armors, but there's like mouths growing out of stomachs and blight, growing out of them. It's very, they're just monstrous, ugly looking things. I'll probably dive into those.
Okay, that sounds pretty sick.
Yeah.
I like where this is going.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of the fiction and the mythology. Like I'll probably get into that as much as is required of me. But playing the game and painting up the figures are the two things that I'm mostly preoccupied with.
That's where you're at.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to keep exploring.
Yeah.
All right, nice. I like it. I like it a lot. And I also like the idea of that you can have like your own sub armies, and again, it's like you can grow the collection, and you kind of have that choice of like, well, they can be on the side of humanity, or they can be on the side of the Xenos, and that kind of opens that up as well. Can you? Is there any rules? Can you ever team like humanity and orcs together, or do they always have to be separate?
If you wanted to field both armies and play, 100%, you would just need to use the codexes for each team.
Okay.
When you build an orc unit, you wouldn't be able to build a unit with humans and orcs in it. You would need to field one army and field the other, and then you would go at your opponent as you saw fit. Now, if during movement phases, your humans and your orcs were near one another, that's a different story. Because let's say you want to draw your enemy towards a specific, psyker or shooter of your Space Marines, so you sent the orcs to kind of engage with them and try to pull them in. You can do those sorts of things. But the codexes will tell you when you want to build something called a unit. you have to follow what's called unit coherency.
Ah.
And and it's all very clear for you, so you're not confused going in. It's like, if you want to do this, you have to do it this way.
Here's the rules of this. Here's the way this works. We thought of this.
Right.
Okay. I
Right
like
now
this.
they are on the 9th edition.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, what about shit, man. I had it on the tip of my tongue and it just completely flew
I've done
out of
that
my
several
head.
times tonight. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, listeners.
No, that's okay. You're good. You're good. Damn it. What was it? We'll talk about something else. We'll come back to it. Okay.
Have you looked up anything online? Have you seen anything that intrigues you? Factions?
Just the artwork overall, man. I think it looks pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
I just like the overall direction that they took with the artwork for the game. That's the part that's always attracted me to it.
Very
It's always
intense.
drawn. Yeah, because it is very intense. And again, you said like very dark, very hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
Where it's it's not alien, but it's kind of in that realm of it's not like it's a dark sci-fi. It's not pussyfooting around.
Mm-hmm.
People's heads are going to get lopped off. There's going to be blood. It's
Constantly.
it's a very hardened thing where it's very much like mass violence and war and destruction and
Yeah.
shit's getting ripped apart.
Oh, and some of the cool, when your figures are put onto their bases and things like that, there are bases out there that you can get that have gore on them. And
Oh,
things
really?
Like that. People will paint gore onto their figures. Yeah, it's very cool.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's
You can buy
where that's
various Warhammer 40K corpses 3D printed online. So if you
Sick.
just want your battlefield to have random orc bodies and body parts, you can paint those up.
Just strewn about.
Yes, which, by the way, will spread orc spores and your planet will be infested forever.
Really?
So orcs, yeah, they're like a fungus entity. They don't mate or anything. They all grow from spores and mushrooms. They also eat those same mushrooms as sustenance. But when you kill orcs, or if you manage to kill orcs, their blood is spreading their spore, and you have to burn the ground that you've had battle on. Otherwise, it's just
You just keep getting orcs.
most planets when they're infested with orcs, they don't go away.
You just have an orc planet
You have
now?
orcs now. Yeah, you have an orc problem.
You get an orc infection?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you have to call the Orkin man.
Yes. Yes. Set up, thrown down. Oh, hey, I remember what I was going to ask you. So one time when I was in Michigan, I went to this place that was like a really cool. It was like an indoor hockey arena, and then they also had an indoor skate park, and in another room they had a bunch of models, and they had these big like prefabricated fields for both D&D and Warhammer.
Yeah.
So that you could bring your stuff and you could have it there.
Yeah.
Are you interested in going down that route eventually of like making your own areas, your own like battlefields?
I suppose that would be, it's interesting. There are a lot of, playing fields and items that you can purchase for landscape.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Because your units can also, as long as they maintain unit coherency, they can move up and down. So you can put your figure, you can have figures go up and down landscape artifacts on the field, if you will.
Cool.
And they are for sale. And it's very, very neat to see all the different ways that people make different backgrounds. Again, just being a massive sci-fi nerd, I've seen somebody talk about a Stargate setup.
Really?
For setting up like a Stargate setup for Warhammer 40K, and I was like, I think I might have to do that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you can go up like to the top like a 3-level building in this game, and then
If you have a character that, if you have footholds on that, like let's say they can only move 6 inches or 5 inches at a time, if you have the footholds that will allow them to move at the rate that you are rolling dice for their movement, yeah, they can start moving up things. But everything from attacks to movement is measured in inches with a ruler or a tape measure. So if you are moving someone up, they have to be able to or strike or have some sort of effect that will match that distance around them.
Okay.
So it'll need to basically make sense for you to be doing climbing.
So if you're climbing, it's like, okay, I have a guy with a sniper rifle. Let's get him to the top of a tower.
Or some sort of a ranged attack.
Yeah, something like that, where it makes sense to. Then this way that this character is kind of walled off in a way. Other characters are going to have to climb to get to them. And at the same time, he's going to be able to rain down hell upon them.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Very cool.
I haven't learned so much about that because with my particular army, the orcs, they focus a lot more on
Yeah.
the swarm.
The green wave.
Yeah, they want to be on you.
And just coming through and wrecking shop.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, look, dude, it's been awesome talking about this with you. Let the people know where they can find you out online.
Just check out Secret Base Cinema, Ian Charles 71. Those are my 2 places. You can find me at either.
Perfect. Listener, you can find me at Neil to Know on Instagram. Thank you for listening to the show. I appreciate you doing that. 5-star reviews are great wherever you're streaming this from. But you know what really helps the show is just telling a friend. So if you have somebody that you're friends with that you know that they're into tabletop gaming, they're into the Warhammer universe, or they're just into like really fucking metal sci-fi shit, toss them this episode. And then after that, tell them that there's over 100 more episodes they can listen to where I cover a different piece of hobbies, collections, and fandom every week. Check it out. All right, Ian, dude, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in. And listener, peace.